All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for continuing to join us throughout the day here at the Lytham Partners Spring 2025 Investor Conference. My name is Robert Blum, managing partner here at Lytham. And today, George McGrath, the CEO of Opus Genetics, will be walking us through the slide presentation. And then if time permits at the end, we'll look to engage in a brief Q&A session. Opus trades on the NASDAQ under the ticker IRD. With that, George, welcome, and I'll turn the floor over to you.
Boy, Robert, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's great to be able to tell you guys the Opus story. The Opus story is really one that's incredibly interesting. It's playing on the technology of Dr. Gene Bennett from the University of Pennsylvania, who was the inventor, the co-inventor of Luxturna, the first approved genetic medicine. And so what we have is a portfolio of gene therapies that are building on the success of Luxturna. So really, after Roche purchased Spark Therapeutics, these gene therapies were what Dr. Bennett wanted to do next. So since 2000, so since forming the company in 2000, she's now taken the first one into clinic, and the second two are going to be ready for clinic later this year and then next year. And so we're excited about uh, four clinical trial readouts this year and a lot of activity. So it's a really good time. But it's important to understand this was a turnaround story. So the corporate history is a little bit interesting. So the company was known as Occufire. Occufire had two products. One was a phentolamine ophthalmic solution. The other was a oral tablet for diabetic retinopathy. Once the phentolamine ophthalmic solution eye drop was partnered, the company started looking for what to do with uh, with its time, and that's when we decided to bring Opus Genetics into the public company. And so Opus Genetics, formed by Dr. Bennett, was a private company which was brought into what was then Occufire in October of last year. The company was rebranded as Opus Genetics to reflect our new work with Dr. Bennett's company, and and the ticker symbol was changed to IRD to reflect inherited retinal disorders, which I'll talk more about. The Following that, we executed a financing about a month and a half or so ago, which capitalized the company and brought in some real name brand biotech investors. And so at this point, we've brought in some really good science. We have a pretty efficient development program. We have great human data to date, and we have capitalized the company. And so we think it's a good time in the company's life cycle where we're really just focused on execution. So, what are IRDs? So, IRDs are inherited retinal degenerations, which are causes, genetic causes of childhood blindness. So, typically, what happens is a child is born, grows up to 1 or 2 years of age. Mom or dad notice that the child's having issues picking up Cheerios or playing with toys, things like that. Take them to the eye doctor, and a genetic panel is done. And a genetic panel will will elucidate which genetic mutation the child has. What we have in our portfolio are seven different gene therapies to help these children, and the a lot of the focus is really around a concept of structure function dissociation. So these children and adults have retina that's normal. Photoreceptors are present, all layers of retina are there, but it's missing one ingredient. So these gene therapies add back that one ingredient. And so it's a very simple concept that has been proven in the Luxturna experience. And we've been able to expand out to patients with additional genetic mutations. To date, we have enrolled 5 patients in our first study. All 5 of those patients have had improvements, and I'll present to you the three that we have more fulsome data on today. It's important to know that when you're in these platforms for rare disease, it's all about efficient development. So these programs have limited numbers of patients. They have more modest expenses and more advantageous timelines than you would see with other programs. And so we're very excited to be able to very quickly and efficiently work these through the development process, and are very grateful to our colleagues at the FDA for helping us with that. It's a great team, a lot of experience, and really a lot of passion and motivation towards getting these gene therapies to the patient. I'm going to talk a little bit about LCA5 today and Best One. So, like I said, we have 7 programs in our pipeline, and the reason is because once you begin developing these, they go pretty fast sequentially because the trials, the manufacturing is all very similar. And so once we, while right now we're focused on LC5 and Best One, once we get to some inflection points on these, we'll be bringing on these others. So there's a lot of value to be created, even though it's small patient populations. And so with LCA5, we have great data. This one's actually, the data was so good for LCA5 that the FDA is actually funding the study, the clinical study, which is the first time that I've experienced that. Best One is a much larger market, and we'll have some proof of concept towards the end of this year, early 2026. Now, I told you this company is a combination of what was Occufire and now Opus Genetics. Well, Occufire had an eye drop called phentolamine ophthalmic solution. Now, this is an eye drop that kind of reduces the pupil down to about 2.4 millimeters. And when you reduce the pupil, it does 3 things. So the first is that after you've had your eye exam at your eye doctor and they dilate your eyes, you can get a drop of this and it'll return you to normal so you can go back to work. So something very relatable, very simple. The next one is presbyopia. Presbyopia is the need for reading glasses. It turns out if you use this eye drop in our initial studies that we've done to date, more patients have been able to put down reading glasses, and you've been able to read a menu, read print, without the need for reading glasses. And then the third indication is actually a really interesting one that's a novel indication that we call decreased visual acuity under low light condition. With this one, think like glare and halos while you're driving at night, like oncoming headlights and street lights. So this indication is really interesting because it's a complete unmet need. And it turns out when you get to this optimal pupil size of 2.4 millimeters, you really decrease the light rays that cause these glare and halos. And so it's really impactful. What we've seen in some of the early studies is that patients who were unable to drive at night are now able to function, and so it's made a big impact on a lot of people. So the first indication, reversing dilation, is on the market and commercialized. So we are recognizing revenue from that. The second 2 are in phase 3, and those phase 3s are going to read out imminently. They're reading out in the second quarter of this year. And so we're very excited to be reading out phase 3 results from this. Now, these programs have been partnered with Viatris, our commercial partner, which has a large ophthalmic sales force and is responsible for funding the development and funding the commercialization. And so we have a double-digit royalty that tiers into the 20s, along with significant regulatory and commercial milestone payments due for this. So we're very excited about this, about the potential of these products. So back to gene therapy, which is now the focus of our team since we've partnered the phentolamine asset. So gene therapies are becoming more and more widely available, and they're treating a number of diseases. And what I would like to emphasize to you guys is that a lot of fun in gene therapy because well, not only are we making a difference, a real impact on patients. Like the first patient we treated went from not being able to see formed anything with form to being able to see food on his plate, being able to see an E on the eye chart, things like that, really changed that person's life. And we had similar results for the other patients treated. And but the returns from an investment standpoint can reflect that value that's generated. And so what you can see here is that the first approved genetic medicine, Luxturna, came out at $850,000. But since then, the prices have significantly gone up. And so we would expect our gene therapies to be priced somewhere between $1 and $3 or so million, depending on how effective they turn out to be in the pivotal portions of the study. And that creates a real opportunity for return, particularly because, again, these are accelerated development programs with small numbers of patients and relatively modest expenses. So you can very quickly get to reasonable returns for the risk taken to develop these. So LCA5, so LCA5 occurs in early childhood, and patients will lose their vision and end up with barely formed, if any, formed vision. So these are profoundly blind patients, and it um, leads to sort of a lifetime of needing assistance and requiring, seeing eye dogs and canes and the such. It's caused, again, it's caused by the lack of lebercilin, which is a protein that creates sort of rigidity in the photoreceptor structure. So if you're missing lebercilin, the photoreceptors kind of shrink on themselves, shrivel on themselves. And it turns out when you replace lebercilin, the photoreceptors straighten right back out and begin functioning. And so that's exactly what we're doing with this. So it's delivered directly into the eye, one time injection under the retina to restore lebercilin. And to date, what we've done is we've treated 3 adult patients. When those 3 adult patients were treated, we went to the FDA, and everybody said, "Wow, this is amazing." And so the FDA awarded um, an ODP grant for $3.3 million to fund the clinical study. And then we also had discussions about, okay, what what does the clinical pathway look like? And what we decided was, let's treat 3 kids, and after, if we get the same result in 3 kids, let's just expand it out into the pivotal trial and treat, say, 16 more patients and be finished with the program. And so that's what we're sort of tracking to. So right now we're enrolling those 3 kids. We've enrolled 2 of the 3, and we'll enroll the third kind of imminently, and we'll report out data on those 3 kids in the third quarter of this year. So again, second quarter of this year, we'll have 2 phase 3 readouts for phentolamine. Third quarter, we may be flipping into a pivotal trial for LCA5. And the quote that sums it up the best for this is by Christine Kay, who is one of the key opinion leaders in the area, where she said, "What I'm most excited about in this in this in these patients is the number of metrics that are all positive." And it really is encouraging to see multiple metrics on multiple patients all improving in the right direction. So a little bit of the data. So the primary efficacy outcome is going to be what we call a virtual reality maze. MLOMP is the acronym for it. What you do for this is the patient puts on a meta headset. That meta headset will have arrows and then have objects, and so the patient will follow those arrows in virtual reality and tag the objects as he or she passes them. And that's what we're reporting out at different luminances from dim to bright on the x-axis. And on the y-axis, how many objects can they identify? Patient 03 on the left was our sentinel patient. This was an older gentleman who had been blind his entire life and had unformed vision. This is the one that I was mentioning after treatment was able to see food on his plate for the first time, was able to see an Uber, so was able to get into a car and actually get around town independently for the first time in his life, was able to see on the eye chart. I mean, it was like not just seeing like the letters on the eye chart. He had to learn what letters look like because he had never seen letters in his life. And so really, really dramatic improvements for that patient. The other two patients were more mild at baseline, younger patients, younger adults, and had dramatic improvements as well. And so we were really thrilled to see that. When you look at more objective um, tests that measure sort of the electrical potential of the eye, you see dramatic improvements after treatment, really as early as a month after treatment, too. So pretty fast after treatment. Again, improvements in visual acuity, improvements in the pupils constricting, um, multiple endpoints all going in the right direction. This is a very cool one. The patient 04 is a 19-year-old who was able to complete this test called microperimetry. And microperimetry is a test where you you test each of these little black dots that you see in here. Each of these little black dots are tested for sensitivity, and then you create a heat map, right? So the red areas are where the patient had sensitive retina. You can see an obvious improvement in that after treatment from almost nothing to something that kind of looks like the continent of Australia. And so this was really very, very cool data to see. Safety profile was very good. This is a surgical procedure. You can see here where the black dot is where you make a little, you insert the needle into the retina and then you create a little blister underneath it that extends out to the white dashed line. So where are we? So again, this is now funded by the FDA. We're enrolling those three kids. Once we enroll those three kids and we report out data in the third quarter or so of this year, will then turn and go to the FDA and talk about flipping into the pivotal study. And so it's a very accelerated pathway, very good science. We're really excited about the potential for this program. So I want to talk about one more program that we have, and that's the Best One program, because this one has 9,000 patients. So again, you can do the math on what gene therapies are reimbursed and see that this could be a product of transformational investor value on top of the transformational patient value. And so in Best disease, you're missing a calcium chloride channel. So you end up getting a blister of fluid under the retina. And so that's exactly what you see in the dog model. So right here on OCT, you can see this blister fluid gets worse. If you choose a gene therapy to replace that calcium chloride channel, you see that blister fluid go away. So right now we are imminently filing the IND and we'll start treating these patients. And our hope is that by the end of the year, maybe in the first quarter of next year, we're producing some data sets to show everyone with these OCTs, hopefully showing that this fluid goes away, which will be a clear sign of biologic activity. So the beautiful thing about this program is that it really does have transformational value for the company with a large patient population, a very discrete endpoint that should let us know whether or not we have biologic plausibility pretty early in the development program. And so this one is a really nice program to be coming along. So again, it's an exciting year. You know, in the second quarter, we're reading out the two phase 3 programs for the phentolamine ophthalmic solution. Third quarter, we'll be presenting that LCA5 data that'll hopefully get us into a pivotal study. And then fourth quarter, we'll be showing the first in human data for the Best One program. And with that, I'll take any questions that you might have, Robert, and we'll go from there.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, we've got a few minutes left here. Maybe you touched a little bit about this already, but give a sense of sort of this unmet need in treating inherited retinal diseases, especially the near term with the LCA5 and the Best One programs.
Well, the unmet need is incredible, right? I mean, these patients are severely affected, and these patients are they have no other option, right? There's no competition for a majority of our programs, and And so there's nothing else out there for these patients. And like I was saying, they're profoundly blind. I mean, so the ability to restore vision to someone who's never had vision in their life is an amazing thing. And what we've done, sort of the a little bit of the secret sauce here is that we've taken really great proven, sort of science from Dr. Bennett, and we're pairing that with a development program that is accelerated, it's still robust, it's cost effective. It creates all the things that you need to be able to be successful in rare disease. Rare disease development sometimes can be more tricky than larger indications because you have to deal with all of the constraints of small patient populations while still delivering a return for investors. And so that's exactly what we're focusing on and what we're able to produce.
All right, very good. The medical response, or the response from the medical community, I guess I should say. What's it
Mhm.
been to your recent data at recent medical meetings here?
Yeah. Yeah, we just presented the 1 year data from the three adults at ARVO, at the biggest ophthalmic meeting of the year, ophthalmic research meeting of the year. And it was standing room only. It was great to see Dr. Alleman from the University of Pennsylvania presented the results. It was a large room, standing room only. It was the community is really excited. I mean, I think they like seeing the program. They like the data. They also like the design of the trials and how we're going about it. So it's really been good.
Great to hear. Yeah, maybe talk about your relationship with the research and maybe the patient advocacy organization, the foundation fighting blindness. How
Mhm.
have they supported the company's initiatives?
Oh, big time. So we're very close with both patient advocacy groups and also with the foundations, including the Foundation Fighting Blindness. And the Foundation Fighting Blindness is actually has a venture philanthropy arm that is one of our major investors on our cap table. And so along with Astellas, and then a number of large biotech funds. But we work very closely with them, to on a number of things. The first is patient identification, patient mobilization. So getting these patients to the sites, getting them treated. The second is from funding. So we do a lot of sort of grant funding with them to help support particularly our earlier programs that we're not spending equity capital on quite yet. And so they're helping to progress along some of the pipeline with us. And it's been a great partnership, right? And it's not just the Foundation Fighting Blindness, it's others as well. We're very close with the RDH12 Alliance and a number of others like that. So been it's a lot of fun.
All right, maybe in the
Yeah.
final minute or so we have left here,
hmm
maybe just remind everyone of the near-term catalyst. You talked about the data readouts,
hmm
maybe some additional upcoming medical conference presentations, perhaps.
Yep. Yep. So we'll continue. We presented at I think four conferences this month. We'll continue that kind of pace. We've got a ton of data to present. And so we'll be presenting at the American Society of Retinal Specialists. We'll be presenting at a number of other ones as well. Um, Again, this year is all about execution. We're just going to roll through these clinical data readouts, right? So we've got two phentolamine readouts that are going to happen in the second quarter. We've got the LCA5 data happening in the third quarter, and we've got the best one data happening towards the end of the year. And so we're super excited. It's not very often that you get to be involved with a biotech that's reading out four major studies in 1 year. So it's got us pretty jazzed.
Fantastic. Well, George, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you to everyone for watching here. I guess I'll say if there's any questions that anyone has or would like to schedule a meeting with the company here, send me an email, Bloom at Lytham Partners. I'd be happy to coordinate here. If you'd like to learn more about Lytham, you can visit our website or follow us on LinkedIn to stay connected on future events. So, George, again, thank you so much for your time today. Greatly appreciate it.
Robert, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the conference here today.